Big ol' Marcus.
Oh, dude.
Big ol' Marcus.
Right here, right here.
Welcome back to the Native Ways Podcast. I'm your host, Richard Ellis.
I'm your co-host, Christian Miller.
And today we're doing something pretty unique. This is definitely different for us. I'm going to let Christian kind of tell you about what's going on here.
Yeah, so we're at the Temple Arrowhead Show, Artifact Show right now. We're actually in our own booth right now doing this podcast pretty much live. And we got a whole setup over here. Got some giveaways going on. And, yeah, we're just trying to get back to the community and trying to spotlight what we got going on.
Yeah, we got a good bit of people flowing through here already. We got some cool stuff lined up throughout the day with a lot of different collectors. Just a lot of stuff. You know, it's getting a lot of interest already, and it's only 8:20 in the morning. Giveaways rocking and rolling. It's probably tripled or quadrupled what we had from yesterday. And, so we're going to get this thing rolling. It's just going to be kind of like a montage. There might be a certain segment or two that we make into its own episode. Might hit some to the points while we're here.
Yep.
But we're going to do just an overall montage of just all kinds of stuff. This is one of the largest shows in the U.S. Some insane pieces here. A lot of content coming just from this show.
Yep. Definitely blessed and excited to be here. I mean, it's going to be a good day. And if you're listening now, hopefully that we got to meet you and got to talk with you on here. But
Absolutely. And then, before we just really get rolling, like Christian said, we're doing a giveaway. So we want to shout out the people that always support us. Dancing Dogs Ranch, Texas Cash, newly on the scene, Gabe DeLuna with Texas Amateur Archaeologist. We're going to have him on to talk about his part of the giveaway. We got Cole Taylor with Tailor-Made Rakes, Tailor-Made Tables. So just a lot of people, coming together to kind of support what we have as an idea and what we have going forward.
yes, sir.
Hope y'all enjoy this one. All right, guys, so we told y'all we're here at Temple doing some live recordings, and right now we've got a very well-known guest. Let him introduce himself.
My name is Benny Richards. I'm a former Texas game warden and very into Indian artifact hunting.
Yes, sir. So you want to tell us a little about what got you into it?
Yeah, his story goes all the way back probably 55, 60 years. When I was a little bitty boy, I was walking around the creek bed and found my first arrowhead, and I was fascinated by it. And then shortly after that, my father and I, we were on a deer lease and walking to and from deer stands. I found a couple more, and at that point I became more interested in looking for those little pointed rocks than I did looking for the antlers of the deer. And it stuck with me. It's like I said, it kind of got in my blood, and over the course of about 55, 60 years, I've just been keeping my eye on the ground and picking up points as I go.
Heck yeah. Sounds like a lot of our starts, I would say. But what's really cool, you said you're a retired Texas game warden, right?
Yep, I retired in 2020.
Heck yeah. And you were on Lone Star Law?
I was. I probably appeared on that for the 6 years that they were filming, and now they're doing reruns, and I don't watch them anymore, but everybody kind of keeps me up to date. Says, hey, I seen you on TV last night, so that lets me know it's still being seen.
Yes, sir. So Cole asked a pretty good question earlier. You want to hit that one again?
Yeah, it just occurred to me, you being a law enforcement officer and being in that world, you don't always run on, fish and deer calls and poaching calls, and I was just curious on how often you would encounter that being a game warden.
As a game warden, you mean running on somebody out in the field collecting or looking for arrows?
Just happening across them.
It was a pretty common occurrence depending on where I was at. But as I was telling you earlier, when I got my start on Cooper Lake over in Delta County, and that lake, because they pump so much water out of it, the level would go up and down, sometimes drastically.
Gotcha.
And there were a lot of local people that liked to look for points, and they would go out there, and I would run on to them. And of course, when I was going to them, I knew what they were doing because I personally would collect them, so I knew what was going on. And I would show up, and I'd get different responses. A lot of times they think they were, oh my gosh, I'm in big trouble. The game warden's here, and I'm not supposed to be doing this. But the way I always looked at it was that it was a healthy, hobby to do. It's inexpensive. It kind of brought people together, friends and family. And
you'd rather them being doing that than spotlighting a deer off the road.
Absolutely. So I rather than beat somebody over the head with a law book, my approach to it was I encouraged it.
Yeah.
And so when I'd see somebody come, back to their truck, and I might have thought they were hunting, and then I find out they're looking for arrowheads. Well, then I wanted to see what they found because I was genuinely curious about how well they did and what they found.
Kind of cool.
Yeah.
Our game warden there in Navarro County, I know you know him, Jimmy Woolley.
Yeah, I've worked with Jimmy a lot. He's a good guy.
He kind of has the same standpoint on that. He's like, I'd rather you be out there hunting them pointy rocks and shooting a deer out of a high fence or spotlighting a county road.
Right.
Or if you're out there looking for rocks, you're a lot less criminal to me than a poacher.
Right.
Or, somebody doing dope or whatever it is that they would be out there doing.
And of course, there are laws that govern some of this stuff, and I had my own personal standards. You don't want to do this in a state park or on, some government-owned land.
A little bit of
whatever.
discretion goes a long ways.
Yeah, but if you're on private property, for sure, or property you got permission, or in a public-owned stream bed that turns over constantly,
Right.
generally you're okay. You're not breaking any laws. You're not going to get in trouble. Just as long as you stay within the area where you got permission or where it's allowed.
Well, it was cool to me. For all those years I watched you on Lone Star Law, and I guess it was after you retired I saw that you were an artifact guy, and I was like, dang, that's cool. To know that a Texas game warden is out there living the life and enjoying hunting arrowheads. I guess it kind of makes you feel a little more in level with us guys. I feel like it's a sickness for us.
I'll tell you about that. As a game warden, a lot of new game wardens that came on that were my partners that never hunted arrowheads in their life. If you go talk to every one of them now, they've got collections because I kind of turned them on to it, and then they started looking at the ground and paying attention, and over the years they've found collections now. So
that's cool. Well, so in all those years, what would you say would be the coolest thing you saw somebody find that you ran on?
Someone else or myself?
Somebody else that you got a call on or you had a contact with.
I don't know. I'd have to put some thought in it. I can't think of anything spectacular that comes to mind.
A lot of common stuff.
Yeah, a lot of common stuff. But every now and then up there on the North Suffolk River in Delta County and Fannin County along there.
Paleo country.
Yeah, I've seen some really nice stuff come out of there. And to this day, not as often now, but there's still some good stuff that comes out of there.
I know Marcus Whitaker, he collects a lot of stuff off the North and South Sulphur, and he's got a lot of high quality paleo that's come off of that up there. And I know there is a lot of high quality paleo. There's a guy a couple booths over, he fossil hunts that North Sulphur River up there and finds, I don't know what it is about that area, but it's incredible up there.
Yeah.
Cooper Lake
well,
and all that.
That place has changed so much since I was a little kid, because that's where I got my start, the North Sulphur River Channel and the South Sulphur River. That's what I call home. But it has changed so much. That North Sulphur River has gotten so much wider. And, of course, now they're building that new reservoir, which is going to inundate or flood some of it. But
good for us duck hunters.
Yeah, but it's just, I don't know, there's so much deposits of, artifacts up there. It's crazy.
And, you say that, in that amount of years, the way that topography of that river and how it's run, how that changed. Imagine how that's changed in 10,000 years since those points were lost. Those camps have been washed out. What the difference of it is now.
There was I've lost contact with him. There was a man named Kenneth Bush who used to hunt that North Sulphur back when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And he tells me, or he's told other people that have told me his story, he said when he first started hunting that North Sulphur, it was like 30 foot wide and 10 foot deep.
Wow.
Well, you know what it looks like now.
Yeah.
Because of the erosion. And that's crazy. I think that thing was channeled in the 30s.
Yeah, they straightened it out.
Straightened it out, yeah. Well, to stop the flooding.
Right.
Because if you look at topographical maps, you can see the old channel, and it was just like a snake.
I guess what are now Oxbow Lakes and all that.
And they went in there in the 30s to stop the flooding and straightened it out. And I guess no one ever had never imagined
that it would get so big.
The erosion, and it would get that big over the years, but it has.
Imagine what they found when they straightened that thing out.
There's no telling. No telling.
Think about the what could be's and the has beens.
Oh yeah. So what has your personal collecting adventure looked like? Through the years, like you said, you started as a kid, and
Well, I'll tell you, like I said, I started as a kid, and I amassed a huge collection, and I made a huge mistake. I sold my collection, and the story on that was I collected, and I had a huge collection. Had some really nice stuff, but my son, when he graduated high school, he ended up at a private university with very, very expensive tuition. And
Got to do what you got to do, though.
me being his dad, at that point I started looking at that collection kind of like a bank account, and I ended up selling it for way less than what it's probably actually worth. But it helped me put my son through college. So that was the bright side of it, but I sure do miss that collection. And in the years since, about, I don't know, that was in 2013, 14, something like that, but I put together a few frames of personal finds, but I can tell you that they're a lot harder to find up in my neck of the woods now just because of the competition.
Oh, yeah.
The farming practices have changed. There's not a lot of cotton fields now.
Right.
And they went to the no-till drills, so you don't have as much plowed land to look in the fields.
Well, you're in the same boat I am. You're east. That's what northeast Texas, Caddo country.
Yeah.
Where I live in Corsicana, so I have the same typology that you do. You probably have a little more of that paleo than we do. We still get some of it, but for me, I grew up hunting East Texas, and a 2-inch Gary, a good one, I freaked out over.
Same here.
Now, once for the last 7 or 8 years that I've been hunting the hill country and doing the digging in the hill country, I almost turn my nose up at East Texas stuff.
Yeah, a lot different.
Up there in northeast Texas, the digging is not really an option because of the soil type. It's like
Sand.
It's like digging through putty or silly
yeah.
putty. It's you just don't dig down there. So I'm a little envious and jealous of some of these collections that they dig down in the central Texas. Wish I was closer to it. But.
And as far as the saturation of artifacts and camps for northeast Texas, East Texas, there's the same amount of camps in East Texas per square mile as there is in the hill country, maybe even more in the hill country. What strikes me as crazy is the difference, the imaginary cutoff, I guess you can say, for me, I would say would be the Trinity River and the Brazos River. So east of the Trinity, it's all Caddo. West of the Trinity, you start getting into that kind of transitional stuff. Once you get to the Brazos and west of the Brazos, it turns into central Texas hill country stuff.
Changing material and changing cultures.
Oh, yeah.
Like that.
We do find some hill country, central Texas type material back east, but nothing like you do west of the Brazos River. West of 35, kind of like, the Sandhill Crane hunting country. Like it's almost the same type deal where we don't find that high quality stuff back east. And that's, for me, that's what drove me to the central Texas area and the hill country is hunting them points.
Yeah, the quality of material. And
we just don't find those 3-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch pieces back east.
I know. Too bad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's too bad, yeah.
So have you always had the dream to become a game warden, or did that just come about? Like, how did that come about? Because when I was young, that was my dream. I always wanted to be a game warden since 5th grade.
I got caught up in the perfect storm. That was good for me. Like I said, I grew up hunting and fishing.
Yeah.
That was kind of, if my eyes were open, I was out hunting and fishing. If they were closed, I was dreaming about hunting and fishing. So, but then when I got out of college, I got into law enforcement, and I was a patrol officer for Richardson Police Department. And so that gave me some law enforcement experience. And then the Game Warden Academy thing came along, and I had the college degree, which was required, and I had the background because of hunting and fishing. And it just was a natural, something that led me into being a game warden. And once they put the blue badge on me and I hit the field, I knew that I'd found my calling in life, and it worked out real well for me. I had a great career. And since retiring, people ask me if I miss it, and absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially on cold November nights. I sure wish there was a patrol truck sitting out there I could jump in and go run some back roads. But
yes, sir.
I still keep involved with it. I've still got good friends that are game wardens.
Right.
And I carry a special game warden commission, which, for lack of a better term, reserve.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
So how did that affect when you were, full-time game warden? Did that affect your being in the outdoors? You're hunting yourself or fishing yourself? I know a lot of people are like, I would never want to be a game warden.
I hear a lot of people that say they want to become a game warden because they like to hunt and fish. And
Yeah.
I said, well, you might want to decide on something else, because for me personally, when I became a game warden, the time I had to spend for personal hunting and fishing was cut drastically.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I was out working, and I took it serious. And so, yeah, my personal hunting and fishing time was cut in half. And not until I retired did I get back to what I used to do.
Right.
But I still enjoyed it because I was out there with other people
Yeah.
who were hunting and fishing and enjoying the outdoors. So it was great. But I tell everybody, before you decide you want to be a game warden, you better understand that you're fixed to give up your weekends for the rest of your adult life.
Yeah, it's almost like something rewarding being able to teach people that don't know. Like, some people are completely, uneducated, go out there and do a bunch of stuff, and they don't mean any harm, they don't mean any wrong, and being able to teach those people the correct
way to do things,
can almost be more rewarding, because you're contributing to that community.
That was kind of our the way we operated. Was you wanted to educate people before you had to enforce the law.
Yes, sir.
Of course, some of them you can't educate them, and even if you do, they're still going to break it. And we did. We tried to help people along and educate them and teach them the right way and give them the information they needed to follow the law. And the ones that didn't want to do it right, well, we would handle that in another direction.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Man, I had something. Oh, so my buddy, like you were saying, I've got a buddy, and he's the game warden in San Saba, and he's, just like you, he's into arrowheads, he's into hunting, a lot of the stuff we do, duck hunting, deer hunting, calling predators and stuff, but like you said, his weekends and hunting seasons are so limited just because the work he does for what he loves, really. So it's cool to hear that from you. And the perspective, I noticed watching Lone Star Law, especially your perspective, and something I always appreciated about your perspective on it was you did approach things from an educational standpoint. It seems like, and this may be me just speaking from what I watched, but majority of y'all's calls seem to be people that just aren't educated as to the way things work with hunting regulations, fishing regulations a lot of the times. Now, like you said, there are those specific cases where there's people that are just going to do what they want when they want.
Right.
But a lot of the stuff is just people didn't know better.
Yeah.
So,
And I'll say this.
Before I didn't mean to interrupt you, but before I would whip out that ticket book, I would ask myself, did this person know better, or should they have known better?
Right.
If I knew for a fact they did know better, that was one thing. But you say, well, should they have? Or, at that point you ask yourself, well, was this an honest mistake? And so we had a room to use our discretion. And there was a lot of people that if I decided, well, had they been given more information, they might have not have made this mistake. At that point, you can give them a break, just a warning or whatever. So it wasn't always about, like I said, going out there and beating somebody over the head of a law book or an I got you moment.
Yeah.
It was about educating people and enforcing the law, sometimes just through education.
I feel like you had the perfect balance.
yeah.
Discretion. But then I remember there was an episode where I can't remember who it was. You said to him, and I always remember this in your voice. You said, ignorance of the law is not an excuse.
Yep, that's true. That's true.
But you, like I said, you had the perfect balance of friendliness, but yet business at the same
100%.
time.
Yeah,
and I had a lot of personal experience to fall back on. And what I mean by that is I grew up duck hunting. And I know from personal experience that we'll say you're teal hunting and you've got, you're one bird from a limit, and you're sitting there and all of a sudden a group of 15 comes flying over the decoys, and you shoot in there trying to get one bird, and 3 of them hit the water.
Chili whop 3 of them in one
now
shot.
you're over your limit, but you weren't trying to. And I've had personal experiences like that. So when I run on to that, as a game warden, I was able to look back on my experience and apply it to what I was standing and looking at. And in a lot of instances, it's like, hey, y'all be careful next time. Don't let this happen again.
That's really cool to hear that right there, too, because we actually had an experience with a game warden locally a couple of years ago. Very similar situation. We were early teal hunting. and we had a volley of probably 15 birds come in, and that was the only volley of birds we had the whole day. But we shot, and I think we killed probably 10 of that 15 between, what was it, 4 of us?
Yeah.
Well, we knew it was open until, so we knew there was going to be game wardens. You know, we do everything by the book. We're walking out, we get stopped by the warden, and he's like, well, where are y'all's birds? We show him, and he said, well, who shot what bird? Well, we don't know. We're like, you know, this is what happened. It was a group of about 15 birds. They come in, we all shooting amongst them, and this is what fell.
Like, we knew how many birds we had shot each, but we didn't know specifically
Particular
which
birds,
bird.
yeah, right.
And, you know, he wanted us to know exactly who shot what bird and have them on separate stringers, basically. We're like, man, we don't know that, and we know we're not over anybody's limit.
I got you. I run on that all the time. And here again, if that particular warden has had a long background of duck hunting, he can apply that.
Yeah.
You know, he knows that that's a scenario that happens hundreds of times a day across the country in the waterfowling world. And so, you just take each case on an individual basis, and you can tell.
Yeah.
It goes back to what I said a while ago. Do these people know better, or is it just an honest mistake?
It's not like we were sitting out there with no plugs and lead shot or something.
Right. Because there's some of those that do that, too.
Yeah.
100%.
And they're the ones that actually need the attention of the game warden.
Yeah, you know, we sat there and we talked with him, and, you know, he had already checked our guns and everything, so he knew we were legal, checked our stamps and all that, and yeah, he got down to that, and I was like, man, you got to be kidding me. Like, you really? I was like, okay, well, next time, you know, we'll make sure we separate them and have our birds to where, okay, you got 2 and you got, but there ain't no way to tell on that.
The best part, though, is when you get a relationship with a warden. Like, we know one back home that he knows us just from doing the right thing. You know, right whenever, he didn't even have to ask for anything. He didn't ask to see our guns or anything. We already had everything just ready. Because we knew the law. You know, we knew what he was going to ask us. And then the next time he stopped us, he's like, oh, it's just y'all. I know y'all are good. Like, who shot that first shot? And we're like, I don't know, someone over there. And he just went straight over there. Like, didn't even have to check our boat or anything.
And there's a word in the English language, is flagrant.
Yeah.
And if you will apply that to a lot of your enforcement, you know, okay, here's a simple mistake. Here's a simple mistake. Here's a flagrant mistake.
Yeah.
And when I say flagrant mistake, 2 o'clock in the morning, some old boys rolling down the road with a gun hanging out the window trying to shoot deer. That's a flagrant violation. There's no question.
Beer cans in the back.
And we don't have to. Did you know better? You knew better. So those are the issues. Those flagrant violations are what really keep game wardens up at night,
right.
And what should be the biggest part of your law enforcement activities. Looking for those flagrant violations.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, speaking of flagrant, what were some of the most flagrant things you ran into, or just in general, what's the most, well, what instance sticks with you the most out of your career?
Here again, I couldn't pick one out right off the top of my head, but I can tell you the number of calls for trespassing. Mm-hmm. That was a big issue, trespassing, as far as hunting. As far as fishing eyes, you know, netting would be something that would really get our attention. If somebody netting hundreds of fish, hundreds of pounds of fish.
Gill nets.
Yeah, but the hunting, it was always, the trespassing was a really frequent call.
Yeah.
So, and I tell everybody that, you know, the grade of penalty, that went from being just something very minor to a pretty serious offense. If you get on someone's land and you shoot a deer without their permission, you just committed a state jail felony.
Yeah. Especially with the firearm.
That's not just a simple citation anymore. Yeah. So I would encourage everybody, before you cross that fence, you better have permission to be on the other side. Because it could get serious real fast.
And now even trespass by projectile is a big deal.
Yeah.
Shooting across the fence line,
Yeah, we do a lot of predator hunting, and we talk with our local game warden, especially because Bell County, at least according to the game warden and what I've read, there's no minimum acreage to hunt outside of city limits. So the biggest deal there is just making sure, you know, you can be hunting on an acre of land, but making sure your projectile will not cross that acre. So whether that be shotgun or however. But,
everybody should know that because it's covered in your hunter's ed course.
Yeah. So I guess before we round this out, you know, what do you have a specific find? And I think it's awesome, like we said earlier, that a Texas game warden encourages what we do. I mean, there's hundreds of people here at this show. It's one of the largest shows in the nation, and you're here. You've got books out. You're selling books, right? And talking to people, which is, I mean, in my opinion, that's amazing. One of the highest representatives in the state of Texas for the outdoor community. What is one find that you've had over your life that sticks out?
You talk about as far as artifacts?
Yes, sir.
For some reason, if you know anything about it, there's different types and different ages for these things. And for some reason, the Scotts Bluff point has always been, I've been fascinated with that particular type. And I've been lucky to find a few. But one day, I was out with my son, and it was after a big rain. It was in February. It was very cold. There was actually some frost on the ground. And I found a Scotts Bluff point about 6 inches, just pristine, perfect, laying there like an Easter egg.
Just nice and frosted.
It took me about 2 days to get my tongue out of my throat. I just swallowed my tongue, and that was a really memorable morning of finding that particular point.
That's awesome.
So,
I think that would be anybody's lifetime find a 6-inch Scotty.
Yeah.
It was
On the surface.
Incredible find.
Gosh.
Yep.
Well, Mr. Richards, we dang sure appreciate you talking with us. We appreciate all you've done for the state of Texas. Appreciate what you do for the artifact community now, and we'd love to talk to you later on down the road.
Well, it's my pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Maybe
very
get you
much.
to hunt with us.
You
Yes,
bet.
sir.
All right, so we just finished up with Mr. Benny Richards, and now we got our first community cash member over here. And you want to introduce yourself?
My name's Dustin Laam. I've been into artifacts for about 5 years now. I'm from Louisiana, but ever since I got to my first pay dig out in Texas, I've been about the Texas artifacts.
Oh, yeah. Hard
I
to
just
beat
got
'em, man.
ridiculous with it. It's hard to beat the quality that you find out here.
Especially what you've been finding. I
Oh
mean,
man,
golly.
yeah, I've been lucky. Lucky's not even a good word for it. Just blessed as far as what I've been able to find, and finding the cache, a sweet corner tang, a needle-tipped Ocala. I mean, you know, it's
You found the Scotts Bluff drill too, right?
yeah. Found the Scotts Bluff drill, and I found another Scotts Bluff that same day.
Wow.
There you
So
go.
it was yeah, I was on fire for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, once I got into hunting artifacts in Louisiana, dude, it was just got bit hard. And then once I started seeing that there was an ability to come out here and actually dig, and you have the chance to find stuff like that, oh, it was over with.
Yes,
Sir.
So what got you into digging?
You know, honestly, I started digging at my house. I found my first arrowhead in the driveway, and my grandpa was like, hey, they're out there in the garden. I was like, no way. So I got there, I found a couple preforms, a couple brooks. I'm like, all right, I'm putting a hole here. So I started digging out in Louisiana, and then it just took off from there. And at one point, I had like a 50-foot wide, 3-foot deep hole in my front yard. Like, it just looked crazy.
Sounds like jeans.
Oh, yeah, yeah, it just about got there. But after that, I started kind of looking around and getting access to different places in Louisiana. So now I have probably about 5 or 6 different properties I can go to at any given time to try to find, more stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's finding one in the driveway, and it was shoveling dirt after that.
Yes, sir.
Like, it's pretty fun.
Heck yeah. I guess what's your best Louisiana find? I mean, you probably say it, and I probably won't know what it is unless you say like a Gary. Or
No,
Santa
it's
Patrice.
not going to be a Gary. I'd have to say, I got San Patrice, yeah. My finest one from Louisiana is a San Patrice. I have a really nice point. It's called a Del High, and it's made out of brown gravel. Got nice, collateral flaking on it. And it's a sweet piece too.
Heck yeah. What about so you got started digging in Texas? What was your first pay dig down here?
I actually went to Gilligan's for the first time when they were running out of their house.
Really?
And I went out there and I was digging all day. Didn't really find nothing, and then towards the end of the day I found a broke St. Mary's Hall, and then a little Purdy's, and then a couple other broke pieces, and I was like, oh no. I was like, this is what it's going to be like? Oh boy.
Yeah.
And then after that, I saw that I was looking for somewhere else. I was like, okay, there's got to be other places. And I saw GT's, and I went there. First trip was kind of okay. Second trip, I took a coworker out, and it was the very end of the day. I had probably a 3-foot wide pile of dirt. I'm sitting here sifting. I'm like, man, I ain't gonna find nothing. And the next thing I know, the tip of that Ocala comes and sticks up right out of the dirt. And I was like, whoa. And that was my first actual Texas killer. And then, oh boy, it was, then you know it's really on once you find something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, dang.
So that's back when he was running all the hand tables out there and stuff. You found on the hand table?
Yeah, it was about three years ago.
So
Okay.
Fall guy.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then from there, like you said, this year, well, I guess the past, we'll say calendar year, you've just absolutely crushed it, man. I would say, right?
I feel like it for sure. I mean, it's, finding that cash, and then I'm going to rock shelters out here in Texas. And
Yep, with Mike.
Yep. J-Mike's a good dude. Shout out.
He's got some stuff coming up that
Yeah.
I don't know if he's talked to you about it yet.
Yeah.
But be ready.
Yeah. He's keeping me in the loop.
Yeah. Well, I'll hit you up outside of the podcast about it once I know a little more. But
Hell yeah.
that's gonna be
Awesome, yeah.
the juice right there, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But so when you come back down here and that Scottsbluff drill, so what? I guess let's kind of talk chronologically, like this year, how your finds went. I know you found the cache, the Scottsbluff drill, the corner tang. I mean, just an insane year for personal finds. But kind of tell us chronologically and talk about those points.
Well, I would say, let's see, I guess we can start with the corner tang, because I found that one well before I found the cache. And I went down to GT for a week for a vacation. Paid for by my boss.
Really?
Yeah, he paid for the whole thing. So we stayed down
notes,
there.
Adam.
Sounds like a vacation getaway for sure.
Yeah. So we're sitting there, and I was on the shaker table for a couple days. And this was back in like last August.
Yes, sir.
Prior to that, everything's been like shaker tables. Nothing really, crazy.
Yes, sir.
I've been finding points, but nothing like the corner tang level. But shoot, it was nice. That day, we were on the shaker table, and my best friend Aaron was right next to me, and it was right towards the end of the day. I don't know what it is. I got that end of day magic or something. We're sitting there, and I'm like, buddy, I think that's about it. Wipe my forehead, look down. I was like, oh man! Grabbed it, and you couldn't even see the actual corner tang part yet. You just saw that. I was like, man, this is a sweet blade. And I was like, whoa! Here we go! Oh boy, I made so much noise. It was Gene and Ray were at the very front of the site, and they just came booking it back. You just see trucks pulling up. What's going on? What's going on?
That's what's awesome with Gene. He's so excited. Like,
oh yeah.
And we talked about that with him the other day. Like, he's just as excited for you to find one as when I've been on digs where Gene was digging, and he's just as excited when a customer finds one as when he finds one.
Oh yeah.
And to find a piece like that corner tang is insane. And I've got a few dream points, and one of my dream points is one of them kind of dog leg corner tangs like that, man.
Yeah.
Better.
So after the corner tang, I believe I kind of had a couple of weeks off, and then funny story. The only reason I went out to go, the only reason I found the cache is because I actually traded Gene a dirt bike for it.
Oh, really?
For some shaker table time. So we go out there, and I drove it. I did this as a one-day trip from Louisiana all the way out to Elgin and back in one day.
Dang go.
I gotta go. So we went out there, and I wasn't really feeling super great at the time, and I was like, man, I don't know, maybe we should just go back home. And then my buddy Aaron was like, hey, we came all the way out here, so let's just stick it out. And it's like, all right, well, we wait, and there were some other guys ahead of us. We're like, we'll see what they find, And they drove up, and it's like, okay, well, all right, we'll stay, that's fine. And started on the shaker table. I had like a nice Marcos came out beforehand, and a couple other kind of random points. And then I was sitting here, I was looking at a flake, kind of wiping it off, just looking for like worked edge on it or something. Mm-hmm. I look down, and you just see the preforms just everywhere. And then we grabbed those, next bucket, 10 of them, boom, 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 boom. And we couldn't pick them up fast enough. I mean, I'm telling you, it was such an amazing experience. Like, even talk about it, I still get goosebumps because it just has that kind of effect. Like, yeah, it's just, it's going to be hard to top a find like that for the rest of my life.
So how many total pieces were in that cache?
57. It ended up being 57 pieces. With two tabs of chert that are the same material this is all made from. So it was like, it's so cool.
Yeah,
like,
they were sitting there coring it out and getting ready to make projectiles out of it.
It's real neat. Later this month, I have a meeting with Mike Waters from A&M, and we're gonna try to hopefully get a better idea of the culture associated with it. And we're not entirely sure because it doesn't show, like, it has overshot flaking, but that's not necessarily, extremely distinctive just to Clovis, but it also has other features that aren't Clovis.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like probably transitional paleo is what I'm thinking. But as far as like exact culture, we don't know yet, but we're hoping to get more information at the end of this month.
I know when we talked to them the other day, they're kind of doing the same thing with, dang it, the guy that found the Clovis blades, or the blade.
Brad Angu?
Yeah, Agnew. They're trying to do the testing on that to see if they're actually Clovis blades. I mean, it's pretty indicative that they are, they're trying to test soil samples. I know David come out there and took samples of the soil to try to test and make sure that that is what they are. I mean, it's, like I said, pretty obvious. But that'd be cool. I'm excited to hear what it comes out of that.
Yeah, me too, man.
But insane finds, man. I mean, just insane. And we talked to Gene about that too the other day. Just the amount of caches that
to me blows my mind.
Literally, the day we were there, so we pulled up. We were supposed to dig with Gene that day, and we talked about it in that episode. Like, Gene's a straightforward dude, and I trust Gene a lot more than I trust a lot of other operators, just because of the way he treated me and Christian. But we pulled up there and we're setting up and talking. And he's like, "Oh yeah, cache was found this morning." He's like, "It wasn't nothing significant, just like a 6-inch blade and a couple preforms."
Oh yeah. Was it Kyle Hicks found that?
Yeah, he hand dug it. Yeah. We're like, "Oh yeah, just 6-inch blade and a few,
no
whatever."
big deal.
Yeah, just a cache.
With the wall of artifacts behind them.
Yeah. But yeah, some amazing stuff from that site, and it seems like it's been good to you, man.
Yeah, it really has. I'm super blessed, and I'm hoping to get back out there and do some hand digging here soon. But I think I got some other irons in the fire around Texas right now.
Sir.
So.
Have you got to do any hill country digging yet?
Not yet.
Boy.
Yet. So that's something I really want to work towards. It's an area I want to be able to go to. So
what's really cool about the hill country stuff and the Central Texas stuff compared to the sand camps is, the sand camps you're seeing a little bit of sign as far as the debitage and the sediment lines and some burnt rock. But when you get into them hill country camps and the Central Texas stuff, like what we mainly dig, black dirt, you get into serious sign like shell midden, snails, bone.
Oh yeah,
all that stuff. I don't want to say it preserves, but it stays in the soil a lot better than that sand that'll just decompose.
Yeah.
Just grinds it down to nothing.
That was something I noticed too when I was at that rock shelter dig. There's a ton of bone. All in that stuff. And I've never, as far as my experience doing this, I've never dug somewhere that has bone, because in Louisiana the soil's so acidic it just does not last. But there, I mean, I'm assuming it's a deer bone, but it's just so well preserved. It's like rock hard almost. It's pretty wild.
And those overhangs, that's where a lot. I mean, if you walk around the show, you'll see the cordage and the sandals.
That stuff's amazing.
A lot of the bone artifacts that are actually intact and whole, they come out of those overhangs predominantly, just because they're protected from the weather.
Right.
But I mean, when y'all were there digging that with Mike, I don't know who it was, found that bone needle.
Yeah, guess what? So I was in the hole. Check this out. And I was like, man, I'm tired. Let's let one of the other guys hop in there. 2 shovel swipes.
Really?
Came out. I was like, oh, dude, all right. Well, okay.
Very similar. Very similar instance happened to me at Jonesboro. We went out there hand digging. It's been a long time since Todd allowed hand digging, so it's probably been 5 years. And I'd found a really nice stem darl that day, a couple other pieces, and one of the guys that was digging with us, he hadn't found much. We're digging this one wall, and I'd been getting after it. I found one piece out of that wall, and then the guy next to me found a real nice Owl Creek Marcus.
Oh, man.
And digging along, and it's like 4:30. We got like 30 minutes left, and I was like, man, hop over here in my spot and dig here a little bit. It was looking good. He does like 2 scoops, just, and it was sand, so shaving the wall. Dink, big wall hanging blade, man, right where I was at. And I mean, I let him there.
Yeah.
And we got a pull video of it. He dug it out with a pocket knife, and it was like a 6-inch archaic blade.
Golly,
killer,
man. Awesome.
And then another one the other day at Mike's dig in Comanche. One of my good buddies, his name's James Feliciano. He was there digging, and we'd been digging all day. And it was a little slower on the main section of camp, and Mike's like, hey, let's move over here and we'll dig this hilltop. So we move over there, and James is digging next to this guy from De Leon. I can't remember his name. Anyway, they're digging along, and they both start talking about leaving. And they come over, and they're talking to everybody, and they're like, yeah, we're about to roll out. Well, James walks to his truck. That other guy, I guess, went back and hopped in the hole for a minute where James was at, and he pulls out a killer Marshall drill.
Oh.
And James is standing at the truck. Like, he'd been out of the hole 5 minutes. That dude got in there, maybe 3 or 4 swings, popped out that Marshall drill.
Man, golly.
But now he knows. I messaged him that evening and let him know. But and we had talked about it all day. That's the thing with hand digging, dude. At a pay dig especially, or if you're at a site that you know other people are coming into, you never know what's on that next swing. And
Yes.
it's so hard to leave a hole because you know the person behind you's about to come in there and find that smoker.
That's the way it goes, too.
It's always on the last load or the last pile of dirt or whatever.
Yeah,
Seems
right.
like.
Just like your corner tank.
Uh-huh. End of the day, magic.
Yeah, man. Well, we appreciate you coming on. You've phenomenal calendar year, and I hope to see you on some digs, especially like we're talking about that deal coming up. So
yeah.
I'm sure we'll be there together.
Oh, yeah, I'll be seeing you boys again.
Heck
Sir.
yeah, buddy. We appreciate it, Dustin.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
All right, we just finished up with Dustin Laam, and now we got 2, I would say, hill country legends in the house.
Hell yeah.
Y'all want to introduce yourselves?
My name is Tanner Sheely. I'm from Hondo, Texas. I'm 29 years old now. I have been digging my entire life as long as I can remember. Started hand digging at some family property that we have north of Hondo, just 7 or 8 miles south of Bandera, and upgraded to screen digging with my dad when I was a freshman in high school.
Whoopee.
Whoopee. And a lot of people know him as Whoopee.
Legend.
And, we upgraded screens and kind of took off from there. Now we dig all over the place. Bandera County, Kerr County, a little in Uvalde County, northern Medina County, kind of your general hill country area out that way, but all west of San Antonio.
Yeah, definitely. Tanner is a name very well known in the digging community, especially. And then next to me, we got
Todd Chisholm.
very well known name as well.
Yeah, I've been doing a long time since I was 16 years old.
Yes, sir. And you own a ranch down and around where?
Yeah, the Uvalde is between the Laguna and Montel.
And it's called the Laguna Montel.
Absolutely.
And what do you do down there, sir?
We raise exotics, do a little pay digging. We have Tanner's done it there. We just kind of have fun.
Yes, sir.
Have fun down at the beach too. Do a little hunting and fishing.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I know since the start, Todd has been a big supporter of us, and
Absolutely.
we cannot thank him enough. I know just about everything me and Christian are into and everything we kind of push this to
Yep.
be, Todd is on the same boat, I think.
Absolutely.
And then Tanner just running some of the best digs in the state. I mean,
Yeah.
They're good whenever I do have the opportunity to pay dig something. It's not going to be bad.
yeah.
Toad on the podcast.
The toad. But anybody that does any pay digging knows of Tanner's recent digs for sure. I got introduced to Tanner at his Dehanus dig. It was on my birthday actually, and I hadn't done any digging in the hill country at all yet. Everything just around here, Central Texas, and I went down there wanting to find a Frio, and I'd been wanting to find something bullseyed, and I went down there and I found a very nice bullseyed Frio.
I remember that.
Yeah.
That was the first time I'd met Tanner. It was a slow day. I think Michael was there, and he found a really nice Casterville that day.
Yeah, that camp was a little strange. It's getting further out of the Balcones escarpment. You're having less material for them to collect and work with. Not near as many rocks, so the middens aren't really prominent. I don't know if the Sotos didn't grow down there either, but you just don't see it as often. Those camps are harder to find. They're a little slower. I think they were more conservative of the material they had to work with.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dehanus, just outside of the Balcones escarpment, off 90. That was a good little site.
Shout out Lone Star Lithics, Mr. Sneaking on through.
I'm about to be pulling some frames through here.
And then Mr. Todd, what's going on at your ranch?
Well, we had David for 5 years excavate out there, and that was quite a chore. We had 2 different type varieties that he named. One is the Eagle, was it Elephant Mountain, and then Shaw's Crossing.
Really?
Yeah, we got carbon dating, I think, back to 10,500.
So like transitional paleo almost?
Yeah, Angostura a little after that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. I know there's been some excellent pieces come off of your place I've seen
Yeah.
over the years.
Yeah.
And you do a lot of collecting outside of just digging, right?
Yep. Collecting, and like I named the Laguna, me, David, and Carrie all kind of worked on that, and then CK Chandler. I think Carrie finished it. Dave helped. I got all the drawings, so
Awesome.
it's been
Spencer, you can prop that open if you need to.
How do I do that?
There's a little like podium thing right there.
Take it easy.
There goes a broken bell. But yeah, and then Tanner. So like I said, I met Tanner in Dehanus at his first or one of his early pay digs, and then from there, my experience with you was Twin Elm predominantly. I didn't get to dig Tarpley.
That was a killer camp.
Twin Elm, it was hard to beat. I was after you trying to get you out to Tarpley.
I know
that was a good one too. There was some of the best of each of some certain types that came out of Tarpley. There was an ET that came out that numbered probably 2 in the state that I can think of or have heard of. There was a bandy that came out that my buddy Dustin Gaddy found that was up there, man, just a killer. A lot of good stuff out of that site.
Wasn't that a bell preform?
That's what, man, you can lay it on top of some of those bells that came out of there. And
Yeah, we found an L-frame bell right before
it's
it.
tough to say. What do you call it? Is it a bell preform because it's got the serrations up the sides of it, or is it a ET that's just phenomenal?
I call bell preform.
Yeah, go either way. But
Patrick Grass found one in Laguna, or not Laguna, but at Barksdale, just like that.
It makes sense to me.
And
either
he
way.
bought it. Yeah,
it fits both descriptions. But yeah, Tarpley. I've had some others in between. We pay dug a site in Utopia that was really, really good.
Yeah.
Years back. I've had some smaller ones here and there. I enjoyed running the pay digs. It's just a lot harder for me to find those opportunities. Where I'm at, the camps aren't very big, so it's either too small to do a commercial dig, or the guy that owns the land I'm really good friends with, and they don't want a bunch of people, or the landowners have enough to where they don't need to turn it into a business side of it, and they don't want a bunch of people out in their place. So they're definitely harder to come by, but I enjoy running however I can. However I can do a dig, I do it.
What's your favorite point type?
I'm going to go with the Laguna.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I say Montel, but birds are all mine.
I was about to get to your bird frame.
Yeah, birds are my passion. Hill country to South Texas. Like, my birds are not East Texas, but I do have a few killer pieces in there, but I'm more hill country, South Texas, Border Valley region.
How about that Boutwell Edwards from Twin Elm?
Yeah,
See that one?
Yeah,
sweet.
I was there
Do
when
you have that piece?
Yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. I was there when he found it. He was on the screen right behind me, and I think he'd come for a half day that day. I think he got there about lunchtime, and shoot, it was probably 2 o'clock, and it was at the very bottom of that table, and he swiped it, and I turned around, and I could see it on his screen from my table. I mean, that's a killer Edwards.
Yeah, that thing was crazy.
I haven't found a good Edwards. I got a couple in there from that site, but they're busted up and stuff. But
they're hard to find whole.
They really are. Birds are just, I could never duplicate that bird point frame. Never.
No.
It's not possible.
Going back to favorite point type.
Yeah.
I have to go square-eared Castroville right up there with a Laguna.
They're
me.
hard,
just
to,
hard
find.
to find.
You always find a broken one,
Always, it seems like.
Tip, ear.
Yeah, one ear.
Yeah.
I got one that day, and then
you do.
I had a second one that's 4 inches, but it's missing the one ear. I know Dalton dumped it, and it was laying right on top of the load. And that was the first one I found that day, 4-inch plus. Missing one ear. Terry come up behind me. He goes, "Man, that other ear is $4,000 piece right there."
Terry Fontaine.
And
Yep.
I picked it up, and then a little bit later after lunch, that whole root beer one come out. But yeah, I would say I'm probably right there with y'all. Either squared Castroville, Montel, or a good Marcus. Those are
hard to beat.
Hard to beat Marcus,
Yeah. What about you, Christian? What you thinking?
I'm thinking the one that I find that's actually worth something.
the whole
one.
Christian's very new to the digging stuff, so he brings.
Yeah.
We've talked about it. He brings a good perspective in the podcast from newer point of view, trying to learn this stuff, and he's doing a heck of a job. He's paying his dues, so he's ready to find him some killers, you know.
Yeah.
Are you hooked yet?
Yeah, so far. Yeah. Especially coming through here, you know, last year and year before that, looking at everything that's in the dirt somewhere. You're like, dude, I need to find something like that every single time.
Yeah.
I just got to give respect for Leslie Pfeiffer for putting this on for so many years, you know.
Absolutely.
And this show is phenomenal this year. I mean, look at, there's still people, and there's people staying till tomorrow. So
Yeah, we'll be here till tomorrow. It's different not having Dana here take up the back
Yeah.
row, but it gave us a corner.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to get him on here in a little bit. I asked him to come and talk with us and talk with his motivation to running this
Leslie.
show. And yep. But yeah,
How many
takes a
years
lot.
have you been doing this?
As long as this show's been here, you know.
Is that 30 years or so?
Yeah, well, I had the Bernie show back when I was 16 years old. And then I had that. And we had the largest show before this show was ever on. And Rob took it over late 80s. And I think it went for another 6 years.
yes, sir.
And that was the biggest show. We had 130-something tables.
Mm.
But
Long
this
before I was even thought of.
Yeah, this is 200 and 200 and something 200 and something tables, so I don't know. Yeah, I got a picture. I'll show you. But I mean,
How does that compare to last year's show? I mean, this year's turnout.
this show last year was not as good, but it's good. It's so hard to put shows on, you know.
Yeah. I know. I was telling Christian. I mean, this is one of the largest in the nation, and
Yeah.
the quality. You come in here, and it makes you sick. The quality that's here, dude. Like, I'm over here. I got one good frame of points, and I'm like, yeah, I ain't got nothing on these points.
Yeah.
Every time I walk in here, it just makes me. But it keeps you going, and makes you know what's out there. When is this from?
Bernie Ice Show.
That's an icicle.
That's an icicle. I'm holding it up.
There you go.
Wow. And you were 16?
I was probably 20 there. That's right,
Wow.
20.
So you've been doing this.
A long
Long
time.
time.
I'm 54 right now.
I know.
Look at the phone. Y'all don't remember these, do y'all?
I've never seen one of those. What is that?
It's a rotary dial phone.
Did you have a pager?
No.
No.
No, I don't think so. Not yet.
Now they're sending pigeons.
Right.
It's the airmail, baby.
I got another picture of Texas Cash back in the day. I was probably 16 there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I got into it about the same. I mean, some ducks.
Yeah.
My dad got me into it. He started digging when he was about 16. His ag teacher had a place.
Oh, really?
Yep, and his ag teacher had let some of the students that he really liked, they'd go out there and dig. It was a very very good Darl camp. A lot of really nice scallions. It had some overhangs on it here locally in Central
Yeah.
Texas, and he was digging that when I was a kid. So that's kind of what introduced me to it.
Yeah.
I'd go out there with him, but I was a little kid. I didn't really care. And then when I turned, I think I was 15, is when I really got into digging, hand digging in Nolanville, right here in Central Texas, and went to college, which slowed me down. And then we got access to a camp in Bell County on the Lampasas River, and that got me going again, dude. And I got a little bit of money in my pocket, so I could start pay digging and stuff. I wasn't a broke college kid anymore.
Yep.
Now I meet up with it.
I kind of went through phases where I can't remember the first piece I found
Yeah,
or the
same.
first time I dug. I can't remember any of that. It's just too far back.
Yeah.
But I did go through phases where I didn't dig as much, over maybe a year's time, and then all it took was one new site, to get me
Going
hooked
again.
back into it, and now it's you can't stop it. It's I can't shake it. I gotta dig somewhere.
Yeah.
All the time now, as
Yeah.
often as I can.
So aside from pay digging, I mean, when is that from?
Oh my gosh, this is the Texas Cash, one of the first ones. I think
Really?
when Bob had it. That was my Burr Point collection
You
starting.
have to send us that. We'll have to.
Uncle Todd's a liar.
Oh, whatever.
We'll throw it in on the video. The video is going to be a little different, having people walking through and stuff. But we're at a big show. You're good, Rudy. Come on, buddy.
The last one.
You're a-okay,
Come on,
man.
bud.
When I'm current, I'm going to knock somebody upside the head again. It all.
But not only does Tanner run pay digs, but he personally digs too. And he has, for a personal fine frame, just an insane frame. In that frame, what's your favorite point that you found?
There's a square-eared castorville in there that it's got some crazy patina on it, some different bluish purple colored swirls in it, and there's a like grayish colored dot right in the center, and it bleeds through to the other side, and it's just something really different. The material is, and the patination on it, and that came from my family's place too at our ranch. So
that's cool.
A little more sentimental, but I think I was 14 when I found that, and I'll never forget it either. My dad and one of his buddies, they were yelling at me, "Get out of the hole!" They were digging with the skid steer, and it was up against this ball of oak tree roots that they couldn't really get any further to it, and I was just walking down in it, and I saw it sticking out and grabbed it. And
Down there doing a coal wall walk.
yeah, and
Taylor
pulled it.
special.
But yeah, that's probably my favorite. But now I have a few that I really, really like, but that one stands out.
How about you, Todd? What you got as your best or favorite personal find that you've had over the years?
You know, I have a beige thing I found when I was like
gonna say that
20 years old.
with the white patina
Yep.
all over it. Yep. I remember.
That. A few bird points. Man, some Montels. I found a really killer square Casterville and the root beers at the winery.
Any corner tangs?
A few.
A few. I know Tanner's been chasing them. He's loaded plenty of them.
It's eluded view to this
Yeah,
day.
I got a drill. That was my first. There.
I think I've put 24 or 25 on different tables over the
Dang.
years, but I've never found one myself.
Every
day.
dig I went to at Twin Elm, there was a corner tang found. There was one day 2 were found.
Yeah.
There was a corner tang drill one day. Brandon found a corner tang. My buddy found a corner tang right next to me.
Nathan's.
Yeah,
Oh,
dude.
that
Oh.
thing was so pretty.
Love that thing. I talk about it a lot.
Yeah, it's something special.
That piece is insane.
Yeah, that thing
But
is.
just, I mean, tons and tons of top tier points. Tanner's loaded for people and got to see. Todd, I'm sure the same with you.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what all's come off of your place and what you've seen found over the years.
Man, we really hadn't even dug surf. You were out there the first time
The
we
first
dug.
weekend at his place, there was a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, they were there.
It's a
Him and
good
Dad.
site. Real big.
Yeah. Long. It's just
yeah.
because there's springs that cut through. There's 4 springs, and
They all feed into the
just,
oasis.
it's second terrace on the ranch, and first terrace is buried. The second, third terrace is there. I mean, it's just loaded.
A lot of digging.
Yeah, it's miles, 2 miles long.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Tanner, do you do any hunting outside of digging?
I do. Not the last year or two as much as I'd like to.
sir.
Oh, he's good. He's Gucci.
I started bow hunting maybe 6 or 7 years ago,
Yes,
and
sir.
I got really into that. Just at my family's place north of Hondo, we have some land there, and then my mom has some family land north of Hondo as well. And I started bow hunting a lot, and I killed a whitetail. It was just a pretty symmetrical 10-point. I shot it with a bow 4 years ago, and I can't explain that feeling. It's better than any arrowhead I think I've ever found. It was hard to beat. But since then, man, not as much as I'd like to. I need to start finding more time for that. But
You don't hunt any birds?
I do, yeah, bird hunting. There's some good birds in Hondo.
Yeah.
There always has been.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah,
of
well, we talked with Johnny earlier. I think you know Johnny, right? Diaz?
Yeah.
And he was talking about some of the hunting he does around down there.
Sandhill crane hunting.
Yeah.
He took me, my first time sandhill crane hunting, and I had never been part of that. I didn't even know it was a thing.
of what y'all find.
But sandhill crane hunting was a lot of fun, and they taste pretty good too. Ribeye of the sky, that holds true to it.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
I hadn't gotten any sand hills yet, but I think that might be on the menu this coming year, maybe. Mainly the ducks. I know.
I tried to get him duck hunting at Choke, but he canceled on me.
You don't ever take me.
I had it. You canceled on me. It was the best year probably ever.
I don't know
Have
if
you
you'll be able to
killed
go
any-
now.
You killed any
No.
cinnamons or blue wings out there?
Blue wings. I got a killer blue wing and a green wing.
Really?
Yeah.
We're
Real
gonna-
full bloom.
Maybe we get together and do a duck hunt, all of us together.
That'd be
That'd be
awesome.
fun.
I know Todd's itching.
If Todd
for-
would ever invite me, I'd like to.
You canceled on me. You would have been right there.
I know Todd's been itching to get on some wood ducks, and
Oh, yeah.
I think we can make that happen between us and Cole.
Cole's got to take me.
Cole's got the wood duck holes, boy.
Yeah, he does.
Dude,
Killer
it's
hole.
we actually hunted a tournament this year, and we planned hunting the tournament. It was a 2-day varmint hunt. We planned hunting that tournament around doing some duck hunting. So we went up there. We hunted with Cole. We killed a cat that night and a couple coyotes out there. Hunted until the morning, and then we went and jumped in the duck blind. And I mean, it was wood ducks and green winged teal by the dozens, just dumping in the hole 15 minutes before shooting light. And once light come up, I mean, I don't know, we shot a bunch of woodies and a bunch of teal, and then mallards start kind of circling in. It was a pretty wild hunt. But yeah, you get out there with Cole, and he gets you on some birds for sure.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, we'll have to get something together.
Even Travis, I think Travis is getting back into it.
Really?
Yeah, he's been talking about it.
I know that we hit the birds pretty hard last year, and we didn't have any just like stellar number hunts, but we killed some really good quality, a lot of mallards, a lot of really good wood ducks, and no pintails. Pintails been kind of slow on
Last
us
year
last
they
2
were
years.
they didn't have no sprigs.
Yes, sir. I dang sure want to do that sometime. If y'all want to do that, we'll get it together.
Coast is good at that.
I would love to see some redheads and some pintails. That's stuff that we don't get much of. up here.
Lighthouse Lake.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to kind of wind it out
All right.
right there. I mean, I know
Appreciate it.
we could talk for hours if
I
we
know.
really sat down and
No.
looked at some points
Yeah.
and got to going, but we're going to get wrapped up, people trying to get out of here. And
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
for having us.
Thank
y'all,
y'all.
man.
Appreciate
Appreciate
y'all.
it.
yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
All right, we're back. It's day 2 of the Temple Show. It's kind of clearing out, and we got a very interesting guest with us today. Mr. David, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm David Callum. I hail from the south of San Antonio, between Laredo and San Antonio, a little town called Divine, which is in Medina County. I'm a contractor there. I do work for TxDOT in highway illumination, and interested in arrowheads.
I'd say a little bit interested anyway, huh?
Yeah, heck yeah.
So, where has your arrowhead interest taken you over the years, and what do you do as far as for the artifact community, I guess we could say?
Yeah, well, I started out with the Southern Texas Archaeological Association. I became the documentation chair, and I began to go out. The digging started increasing at that time because of the social media, I guess, and so I saw the need to get out and document what was being dug up. And there's archaeological societies, sometimes they don't want to be seen associated with uncontrolled digging. They don't
Yes,
want
sir.
to promote that. And I understand, that's good. But nothing was going to stop the digging.
Stop it from happening. It's
You
going
know,
to happen.
good people just
Yeah.
going out having fun finding arrowheads, and so I decided that I needed to be out there with them and documenting what they found, because they didn't know how, generally, and so we were just going to lose the data. So it was all about the data for me. And so when I was told that I didn't need to be seen in a photograph with anybody that was digging uncontrolled, I was like, it's time for me to get out of here. I can't be controlled like this. That's not how we need to do this thing. And so I quit and started my own outfit.
Yes, sir.
And Texas Borderland Archaeology is all about getting out to the sites that are being dug and documenting what's being found.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I mean, so I've known of your operation for quite a few years. I've been digging since I was in high school, which 2015, I believe. And as we've kind of dived into this podcast deal, I've got to know a lot more about some of your excavations. Talking with Ryan with Texas Cache, talking with Gene at the Hog Eye site. I know recently you were doing some studies on a bladelet cache from GTs. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
What are you finding with that?
Boy, I've learned a lot.
Yes, sir.
about, Clovis with that. Those blade caches are all about cutting edge. And a lot of archaeologists say that the Clovis people were not just focused on mammoth. And I'll say, okay, that's true probably, but they were focused on big animals because they needed all that blade edge to cut them up.
Yes, sir.
Butcher them, basically. So, and looking at those, to see the technique they use to get that much cutting edge out of one particular rock, the platforms, the isolated platforms mainly, showed accuracy.
Yes, sir.
Accuracy in detaching those flakes, and it's pretty impressive.
Yes, sir.
Pretty impressive.
How many pieces were recovered in that cache? I know Brad was here yesterday with that. We haven't got to talk with him, but I'd love to talk to him at some point. But how many pieces were recovered with that, and what does that excavation process look like more from an archaeological standpoint than how we dig, just kind of go in there?
Yeah, there were 70 of them, and which is pretty large. I'm not sure if that's the largest ever found, the largest amount of blades, but Brad found it intact and photographed it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I was in Harlingen on a backhoe on an archaeological project when he texted me and sent me a picture, and I was like, I will be there in 12 hours. Don't do nothing, you know. But it's just the excitement of it was just too much for them, you know. So they pulled every blade out before I got there. Yeah, but they photographed it, and that's a unique situation. We rarely have photographs of caches in place, and so they did a good job. I mean, there's a lot to be desired in anybody's excavation.
Yes, sir.
But I appreciate Brad and Gene.
Yeah, we really want to talk with Brad once all the studies are done on everything. I know he's having some more studies done, according to Gene. We interviewed Gene 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right? And we talked to him about it, and he said there's still studies being done. I don't know if are you performing the studies currently still?
Well, I've photographed every one of them, and myself and Glenn Good, who's an expert, really, he won't admit it, but he's really an expert on Clovis technology. We sat down and went over every one of them, and he noted things about each blade, and I recorded that. And so eventually, something's going to get done, but it's probably going to have to. We're probably going to have help, and so Brad took them to Dr. Waters at A&M.
Yes, sir.
And so Dr. Waters is
doing the current research.
Yeah, well, I think we'll team up.
Yes, sir. So you're kind of playing the role of mediation between the hobbyists that do this for self-collection or what have you, and the actual archaeological field. Is that correct? Or
I don't think so. I mean, at one point, I think that I thought of myself as sitting on the fence.
Yes, sir.
Between them, and but now I'm just doing it on my own.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not relying on anybody in academia.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So, not that, I mean, there's some good people, you know, but everybody's busy, and so I'm just my one person go-to is Dr. Hester.
Yes, sir.
Thomas Hester. He's my mentor, and very supportive.
Yes, sir.
Harry Schaefer as well. Harry Schaefer, and there's other good ones, but those are the two main that have influenced me. Yes. So no, I don't think I'm a go-between. I'm the documenter and recorder.
Yes, sir.
Now.
So what does your excavation process look like? I'm sure it varies site to site and depending on what's being found, but what does a general excavation that you're running look like?
Well, we go in and look at what's been found.
Yes, sir.
And so we're really interested in the earliest occupations. That's really what the bones of it is. And we're going to document everything we run into getting there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so and I'm not advocating for uncontrolled excavation, but it's saving me a lot of time. That's just the reality of it. A lot of sites that I've been on, the archaic's gone.
Yes, sir.
I don't have to dig through it. I like digging through it. I mean, it's exciting, and the early archaic is really intriguing. But a lot of sites, it's gone, and so where I start is on paleo.
Yes, sir.
So that's kind of what, and we're looking for that, you know, because we just ain't got a lot of time.
Yes, sir. And I know. Talking with Ryan yesterday, this is really so. We met you yesterday evening, and we talked a few minutes, and but talking with Ryan, he says you're really chasing something pre-Clovis. Is that the case?
Whatever it is, we're after it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, earliest occupations. So I believe that there are occupations older than Clovis.
Yes, sir.
And I'm looking for it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So these sites that have been dug with skid steer, you quit finding as much artifacts once you hit paleo.
Yes, sir.
And these screen digs, their customers, they want to find artifacts.
Yeah.
So they need to move on once they hit the paleo and continue chasing those archaic hot spots. And they leave that.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't pay.
Mm-hmm.
So, we go in and we look at what's been found, and then I have a mini excavator. I'm a contractor excavation. And so I take my mini sometimes and we dig controlled mechanical trenching. Like we dig in a specific area in 4-inch lifts, and we screen it as we're going. And we log those in so we know when we hit a level of occupation. And if we're already below the archaic, then it's going to be a paleo occupation. So and that series of trenches around a site can hone you in on where the paleo hotspot is.
Yes, sir.
And then we set up a hand excavation.
What does that look like? I mean, so I've seen some video of some of your excavations. I've seen photos. I've seen stuff with the Galt site, things like that as well. But what does that hand excavation look like for your sites?
Yeah, so it's not as detailed as they're. I'll never be able to do it as detailed an excavation as they've done at the Galt site. I mean, they log in every flake.
Mm-hmm.
We just can't do that. And we'd be there forever, never get anything done. It's sometimes we just shovel, skim.
Yes, sir.
You can take a flat face shovel, and especially at Gene's place where it's just sand, it goes really good. And screen every bit of it and save everything that we find, and then make some determinations about the site. I was looking for something older than Clovis, maybe. There's a lot of Clovis at Gene's site.
Oh, yeah.
There's a whole bunch. And like at Gene's, we discovered that there was still stratigraphy in that sand, and I wasn't expecting it. I thought that all the artifacts were going to be down on the clay, and they weren't. They were
Yes, sir.
in a chronological order. Every artifact, the deeper we went, was older and where it should be in relation to each other. Some really surprised me.
And that's really uncommon in sand camps, correct?
Well, I've only excavated in 4 sand camps. They've all been different.
Yes, sir.
So that's kind of like every site. Every site is different. But some of them are. There's no stratigraphy. 50%. I've dug 4 test units in different sand camps, and 2 of them had stratigraphy and 2 didn't. So you got to deal with what's there. You can't just make assumptions about how it's going to be.
Yes, sir.
You're going to be wrong.
Yes, sir.
So have you done anything outside of Texas, or has it all been strictly Texas?
Is there anything outside of Texas? I didn't know.
We sure hope not.
No, if a Clovis guy threw a Clovis point across the state line into Oklahoma, I just wouldn't care about it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know
Cross the Red
I
River,
know there
we're
wasn't
good.
no political lines back then, but I am.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Texas is it. It's in the name, Texas Borderland Archaeology, right?
that's it.
What is we're not going to hold you too long this morning, Mr. Callum, but let's wrap this up with one question. What is the most significant site that you've excavated, or the most significant finding you've had to this point? And I know we talked with Ryan yesterday. We're going to set up a whole full-length podcast at some point, but
Yeah.
what is that one site or that one finding you have that you want to put your name on?
Well, we excavated a site in Uvalde County along the banks of the Nueces River called Laguna Montel. We found a buried surface, a buried topsoil. It was 8 feet below the current surface, and it had been heavily occupied. It was just chock full of charcoal, and no bone, but lots of charcoal and artifacts. When I first started digging that site, I excavated from the top down and hit a layer of gravel at 36 inches, and I found a spear point that I thought was an Ellis point. And so I thought that this whole 36-inch midden was transitional archaic to the present. I was way off. I was way wrong. That wasn't an Ellis point. It was actually a Martindale point. So we go through, from there, 52 inches of gravel. Some of it large gravels.
Yes, sir.
And all of it seemingly unstream rolled. And then we hit this buried, we call it a horizon, buried horizon, and we dated that horizon, the top of it at 8,800 BP and the bottom at 10,200. So the bottom of it was getting close, or may have been St. Mary's Hall age. The top was archaic, Martindale, and transitional paleo. Later, they excavated on the top with a skid steer, and they found Martindale and maybe some late paleo, meaning that 52 inches of gravel was dumped on the surface during the Martindale period. And it might have been one event.
Yes, sir.
And so put it in that light, it was just awesome to think of what's happened that caused that 52 inches of gravel.
Yeah, what's the reason for it?
Yeah, something happened, and everybody kind of knows something happened in early archaic, just not sure what.
Yes, sir.
But that was an indicator of something big, I think.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We talked with Todd yesterday, and we're going to talk with Todd some more in the future. We got some stuff lined up with him, and I'd love to see that site. I know he talked about your excavations on it at Laguna Montel. But
yeah, it was a great site, and many thanks to Todd Chisholm for the support he provided there.
Yes, sir.
Very, very important.
Well, Mr. Callum, like I said, we don't want to hold you up too long today. We're going to go back, do some research, and look into some of your stuff, and have a prepared podcast to sit down with you and Ryan, and I think we can talk for hours. I got a feeling.
Okay, that sounds good. The beer's on you.
Beer's on us, as always. We appreciate you, sir.
Yeah, you bet.
You have a
Yes,
good
sir.
All right, so we just finished up with David Callum not too long ago, and now we got on some of the OGs, is what I'll call them.
Yeah.
Not original gangsters, but
What does that stand for?
Old guys.
old guys.
Yeah.
Could call you OCs, but we'll keep it PG. But no, y'all want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah.
This is how I thought this was.
I'm Richard's dad, Willie.
Yeah, I'm Luke. I'm Willie's buddy.
Some call it that. Yeah, but
It's not like that.
No,
yeah, no,
no,
not at all.
We've
They
been
don't-
best friends since first grade,
First grade, probably.
Yeah.
Long time.
about 3 years.
Yeah.
They're now 7. He's my dad.
He got me through elementary. He helped me with all my tests in there.
It was hard times, wasn't it?
Write an A, got it. Here, Luke, draw that.
Did he give you his teeth, like to help your teeth grow?
No.
Oh. That's a hard spot in elementary school, is growing your first 2 teeth.
God. Thought this was about arrowheads.
It's going to be.
Oh.
But no, we got my dad and Luke Harmon on today, and yeah, we've talked about having them on for a long time, but just waiting on an opportunity, and what better opportunity than here at the Arrowhead Show, even though we see them every day just about.
Right.
But we're just going to talk about some stuff. I mean,
Right.
what got y'all into it?
Really, for me, I've always been interested in artifacts. Growing up as a kid, and some of our family members and friends, they all had some artifacts, and I always liked looking at them, and just wondering where they came from, who made them, where they were found, and but I really didn't get big into artifact digging until I got into high school, and Luke and I had an ag teacher, Mr. Dowdy, and he had a camp on his place, and he invited us out, and really got us started in it. And real down to earth guy, but real knowledgeable, and we learned a lot from him, and that's really what sparked the collecting for me.
Yeah. I guess I got started, introduced to it by my uncle, and about 2 or 3 times a month, he'd come out and he'd take me under his wing, and start out 6, 7 years old, and here I am.
Yeah.
Now he's a turkey stick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know, nobody really might know who David Harmon is, but David's one of the luckiest guys I've ever known. I think when it comes to artifact digging, I think he could just walk out and sit down on the flat ground and he'd dig up the best point in the cotton picking camp. And he was just that way, and another real down-to-earth, knowledgeable guy. I never really got the opportunity to dig with him, but I talked to him a lot and seen a lot of things he found, and he had a camp on his place, and I dug it a little bit, but just never got the opportunity, which is something I wish I had done.
So then Luke got introduced to it a little earlier than you did, but then when y'all were in high school, Mr. Dowdy kind of took y'all under his wing too and got y'all out there.
Yeah, that's out of all the places that I have been digging, that's probably my favorite place to dig was his place.
Yeah. Yeah, you could go in there and just spend a leisurely afternoon or morning down there digging, and you knew you were going to find something worth talking about. Some of the best bird points in the world, I think, and it was just about every time you went, you was going to find.
Yeah, you were guaranteed to find something.
Yeah, and you didn't have to work hard to do it. It was fun digging.
So while y'all were digging there, so we've talked about my getting into digging a little bit, and most of what I've said is mainly in high school, but I was introduced at that camp when I was a kid with you and Rick, and I think with Luke a couple times. When I was a little kid, kind of probably younger than Paxton, which y'all see him in some of our videos, but I didn't really know what was going on. I wasn't super interested. You tried, but it just wasn't my thing then. But I didn't get to see that camp in its prime. I've seen the pieces that y'all have, but what was it like in its prime? What were y'all finding? What was, like you said, you'd go in there and find a couple good ones every time, but we're talking hand digging, so
yeah,
to find a few good pieces hand digging is pretty solid camp.
Well,
that it had a lot of insers in it, and beautiful insers, bird points. I can't recall any corner tanks coming out, but
there was a lot of blades that came out of there. But there was a gentleman that was digging there, and I met him a time or two. But again, I don't even remember his name. But he found the majority of the blades, and he kind of found most of them on the north side of the camp, which I never quite understood that. I know when they brought that train through there, they pushed part of that camp, and I don't know if that's why he found those blades, because he found nearly, I'd say probably 75% of the blades were up on that north fence line. I don't know. It's strange, but he found a lot of blades in there. But as far as corner tangs, I don't know that there was any that came out of there. I'm sure there were, but I don't remember ever hearing them.
Yeah.
So what was some of y'all's best pieces from there?
My favorite and best piece that I found out of there, I forever called it a Marshall. It was about close to 5 inches long, probably, maybe 4.5. Anyway, I've always called it a Marshall blade, but learning more about it, I do believe it's probably a Darrell, a stem Darrell.
Yeah. And there's a funny story with that one, because we've started this whole, and the problem with that place was there were so many people going in there, and they would pothole the place, and you didn't ever know what had been dug and what hadn't been. So we tried to stay away from where everybody else was digging. We didn't want to dig anybody else's hole. Didn't think that was right. But anyway, we had started this hole, and there was a tree, and I kept telling those guys for 3, 4, 5 digs, when I get to that tree, there's something at the bottom of that tree. I just knew it. And Luke and I were going out there to dig, and Luke said, "Hey, you want to swap spots?" Because he was in a hot spot. He was finding everything, and I'm thinking about it. I was like, well, we're probably a good 8-10 foot from that tree. And I'm like, yeah, okay, well, we'll swap sides today. Oh, we swapped, and he just dug a tunnel. I mean, I don't even know how he got down in there, but he just dug a tunnel straight to that tree, and he pulled that blade out right at the base of that tree.
Really?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's not the way I remember it.
How'd it go, Luke?
Of course not.
You know,
Got a little family.
Willie
feud
was
going.
asking me to clean out his throw dirt.
Typical.
And no.
Yeah, but I guess my best point out of there.
He said, yeah, shut up.
Yeah,
Luke.
I don't want to talk about that no more.
Let's hear it. I want to hear it.
Yeah, my best point I found out of there was a little darl blade as well. That, and then I've got a bird point that I found. I'd actually dug up a scallon a couple weeks before, and it was super fine, but the base of it was broke, and I was just dying to find one. You know, that was whole, just like it serrated like crazy, and ears.
Owl Creek Black.
Oh my goodness, man, it was stupid. But I actually went digging with Mr. Dowdy. This is another story, but you always got that little section of bank there in between you and whoever you're digging with, and everybody knows you dig that out and there's something in it. But I was telling Mr. Dowdy there close toward the end, I said, man, you really ought to dig that out. There's something in there. I know what's in there. He said, no, you dig it, You know, we didn't. We left it, and I come back, I don't know, a couple days later. It had rained pretty hard, so I let it dry out, and I went back, and that piece had actually broke away from the bank. And so I thought, well, I'm going to get that and clean it up, you know, and get this bank straightened up. And I picked it up, and I firmly believe that man had went back to his house, and he had one of them points, and he put it directly below that clump of dirt, because I picked that dirt up and it was laying right there. I mean, just as pretty as you please. And he says he didn't do that, but I think he did. Yeah. But nevertheless, that's my favorite point out of there, I guess.
Yeah, it's a killer. That's like, even as a kid looking at that point, not even interested in arrowheads as a kid, I would look at that one and be like, man, whoever made that was an absolute artist. The same with Luke's Darl blade. It's two-tone Fort Hood gray with some blue swirls in it, and just beautiful piece. But I would love to see all the points that come from that camp, just to see them. And it's been a goal of mine, because we still go out there and dig every now and then. It's been a goal of mine to find a whole piece from there, just to have one to say I've got it. I haven't hit it yet. I've got a broke bell that I found there, and I've got a scallon from the last time we went that's missing the tip, but I don't have that whole one yet. But yeah, it's fun to dig, and kind of like we've talked about in this whole podcast running it, is we want to get people in the community, and you know, you and Luke have done that for me, and now for Christian. Y'all have shaped all of this, in my opinion, and I can't thank y'all enough for that. It's been awesome. And
yeah, don't mention it.
Yeah.
We have a lot of good times for sure. We got when this all started, you know, before Native Ways, I was making TikToks, and you know, me and Christian met and through work and started talking about turning this into something that was useful for the community. But before all that, we were making TikToks, and majority of the TikToks are Dad and Luke pulling points out of a camp that we dug privately for about a year. And I mean, one of them, the video has 3 million views on TikTok. It's Dad pulling out a Fairland drill, and I just there's so many stories from that camp that are just hilarious, like the start of the water bottle technique that we get crap for.
Oh yeah.
But you just had to be there to understand it.
Which really started as a joke to
Yeah, it
begin
did.
with, you know.
And then we just figured out it was super effective, so
Right.
why not?
Yeah.
But it made for some awesome pool videos too. But like that drill, I specifically remember, just like Dad said, you know, there's always that mound of dirt between you and whoever you're digging with. Well, me and Dad predominantly dug on the left side of this hole, and then Luke always dug on the right. And there was this one tree in the middle. I don't know what it was. Some kind of little scraggly
Spanish oak or
Yeah.
something like
And our hole just kind of naturally went around that, and it was probably 5 foot across that little island of undug dirt.
Yeah. Probably.
Well, that Fairland stuck in the wall, and all we could see was one ear of it, and we didn't know what it was because it's so wide. I mean, it's a 3.5-inch Fairland drill. When it was a whole point, it was probably a 4.5-inch Fairland. The base is so wide that you couldn't tell what it was. Like, you could just see a notch, so it almost looked like a Marcus base tang or something sitting in the wall. So Dad's got it hanging out, and he calls Luke. He's like, Luke, come over here. And now I can see it from my side of the hole, and Luke comes over there, and what you got? And he's falling down over Dad, and he goes, oh yeah, I think I seen the tip of that over there in my hole. I got that part on video. And then just goofy stuff like that all the time. There's some stuff that we didn't post, like I'd kind of gone back in the hole and dug a stretch of the wall that I'd missed somehow. I don't remember exactly what happened, but I'd missed a stretch, and I'd popped over a point, and Luke comes over there knocking me out of the way. Give me that. And then there's another one where he comes from over top of the bank, and he looks down in the hole, and it's a tip of like an Enzer or something. I can't remember, but it's sticking out. Like, it's like an inch or two out of the wall, and Luke leans his head over, and we're like, oh God, you're going to poke yourself in the eye. Like, he almost did poke himself in the eye.
Yeah, and that's finding the artifacts is great. And when I was younger, when we were younger, and we'd go digging, it was all about finding them points. I mean, it was we're getting to business. It's time to go to work, and not anymore. I mean, I enjoy going and finding them, but I enjoy seeing you guys find them more than I like to find them. But the part for me is just
the camaraderie, the fun.
Absolutely, and we're kind of characters anyway. We like to cut up and have fun and make jokes about this, that, and there's nothing that's not off the table. We make jokes about everything. Some of the stuff, a lot of stuff we can't air on TV.
Yeah, so. Yeah, definitely not.
And I got kind of a potty mouth, and my mom was in the digging hole with me. She'd make me eat soap. So.
Yeah, but no, we wanted to get y'all on just to kind of briefly talk about this stuff, and I'm sure we'll do an episode one day and talk about all the digging stories. But yeah, mainly just to this is why we do it. Guys, y'all are why we do it. I'm sure Christian feels the same. Christian's got a baby boy coming pretty soon, and me and Christian get to be those guys for that kid, and y'all get to be y'all again.
Well, as me being a grandpa now, I'm waiting on that day when my grandson, he's able to get in that hole, and I'm able to teach him some of the things. And I know I'm no archaeologist, but I have a lot of different outlooks on a lot of these things that even archaeologists don't quite look at or understand. And I put that back on the guys that I learned from, Mr. Dowdy, down to earth, and generally, a lot of these typologies that these archaeologists have, I'm not saying they're wrong, but I'm saying a lot of times the most obvious answer is the obvious answer, and sometimes I think they get a little crazy with their typology, and but that doesn't make me no expert, but I'm still learning too. Every time we go, we find something that I gotta ponder on and look at it and examine it to come up with what I think is the most logical answer. And anyway, archaeologists have a place, but I think the people like us, I think we're the ones that really make it go. And those grandkids coming up, they're the next guys. And we're going to pass that knowledge on to them, and maybe they'll come up with Christian's baby's coming. I can't wait for the day that we're in a hole and he finds his first one. I mean, that's. I mean, I'm already looking forward to it. I'm ready. I want to go do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
But he's not even here yet, so we got a little waiting to go.
What do you think, Christian?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the plan. I'm already excited on, what I'm planning on doing as far as being a mentor and teaching. I think that's going to be the most fun for me. I mean, I probably won't even want to do it myself anymore. Like I just want to see him succeed. He's not even here yet.
Yeah, it's kind of like hunting too. You know, I mean, I've shot enough deer in my lifetime, and I mean, I know I'll shoot some more before I quit breathing. But you know, it's you take these kids out, you teach them what that's all about. You know, and that's more rewarding than any hunt I've ever been on.
Yeah, but we got plenty more digging, plenty more hunts ahead of us. So, and we're going to talk about them. But yeah, we wanted to, like I said, bring y'all on. Y'all are, in my opinion, at least what shaped my portion of this. And you know, Christian follows my footsteps on what I believe as far as artifacts and hunting and stuff, and that's why we do this together. And yeah, we just wanted to show y'all what we're about and kind of what we do. Everybody that's been here at the show that's brought kids by and stuff, you know, it's our goal for that next generation to be encouraged to do this stuff. That's why guys like Gabe that we partnered with on our raffle with these archaeologist buckets and stuff, they're geared towards the next generation of diggers. Same with hunting, you know, get these kids out to hunt, fish, do whatever. So y'all are what started that for me, and I can't thank y'all enough.
Yeah, well, a lot of things we've done, you know, we wouldn't have done without you guys. And, you know,
Yeah, the reason.
yeah, y'all are absolutely the reason we do a lot of things we do. And if there's parents out there that aren't doing that with their kids, man, you're really missing out. So, I mean, you could find a number of things to do with your kids, and it'd be the right answer. You know, it doesn't matter if you're hunting fossils or hunting or fishing or digging arrowheads. I mean, we have a lot of different things that we dive off into, and you know, some of the things we kind of don't, you know, get into just a whole lot, but you know, we just do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and
A whole lot of fun.
Whole lot of fun.
Whole lot of fun. The memories you make they're irreplaceable, and you can't buy them.
Yeah.
So any amount of time or money that you got to spend to do that with the kids, and anything that the kids learn from it, it's invaluable. It's invaluable.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate it, Dad, Luke, Christian.
Yes, sir.
I think that's a good spot to wrap it up for the Temple Show.
Think so.
Appreciate you guys
Yeah,
having
thank
us on.
y'all.
Thank y'all. We just want to shout out Texas Cash, Dancing Dogs, Gabe with Amateur Archaeologists of Texas, Cole with Tailor Made Tables, Tailor Made Rakes. Make sure you check us out. We're about to do this giveaway here in a minute. We'll post that on the Facebook. Christian,
Y'all keep living your hobbies.
see y'all later.